Hey Fearless Gamers, the wild card here from Fearless Games. And I thought I'd give you kind of a 2-for-1 video here. I'm going to talk a bit about Battletech in relation to what a standard miniature kind of is like when you buy it for Battletech. And then I'm going to, well not then, in addition while doing that, I'm going to talk about working with Pewter. So I'm going to try and do it as parts. I'm going to do the beginning as just talking about Battletech, the miniatures for Battletech here. And then I'm going to shift gears and part 2 of the same video, 2-for-1 special, if you think about it that way, I'm going to talk about Pewter in general. So, firstly, what we got here is a blister pack for Battletech, as well as one of the miniatures from the introductory box set. Now, I like the introductory box set, I think it's a good deal, but if for whatever reason you can't get your hands on one, or you don't want to buy one, but you want to get into Battletech, well then your only option at that point is to start buying actual blisters and putting them together. So I wanted to show you the difference. Here, all I did was paint this model up a while ago. I did no assembly. That's how the model came from the introductory box set. Attached to its base, single cast, single piece plastic. That's it. That's the bulk. That's all but 2 of the mechs in the introductory box set. That's how they come. You have 2 premium plastic mechs. They call them premium. They're multi-part plastic mechs. That's basically what you're going to be dealing with. Only you're going to be dealing with Pewter. Outside of the introductory box set, the mechs come Pewter. They come from Ironwind Metals or Ironwind Miniatures, and it's Pewter. So Catalyst Game Labs produces the rules for the game, and Ironwind produces the models. So it's 2 different companies there. Couple of things to keep in mind if you're going to go for clan technology, clan mechs. Their names tend to be the inner sphere designation when there is one. I've never noticed a mech by its clan name, so I've always seen it as Mad Cat, not Timberwolf. Masakari in this case instead of Warhawk. So if you're trying to figure out if you're a clanner, like I am a bit, and you like going by the clan designation of stuff, you're probably not going to see it when it comes to picking up a blister from a store, let's say. Just one thing to keep in mind. A more important thing to keep in mind for everybody getting the Battletech, if you're going to buy the blisters, is now I bought this guy a few months ago. It could have changed since then, but they don't come with their bases. The bases come with a little base pack right here. They come with a pack of 4. Personally, I don't like that. I think every model should come with a base to go on. I don't know why this is the case, but it is what it is. And that's the way it is. So, the bases are separate. So, you have to think about that. You get a pack of 4, divide the cost by 4, add that number to the cost of the mech, and that's really the cost per mech when you buy a base set. It's important to keep that in mind if you're budgeting out your allowance, or not so much your allowance, but if you're basically allowing yourself to spend X amount of dollars per month or whatever it is on miniatures, you got to budget in the base as well for each mech. So, the base here is Pewter. Most of the time you're dealing with plastic bases, but in this case we're doing it old school, I guess, still with Pewter bases. Now, I make no attempts to hide the fact that I prefer anything over Pewter when it comes to miniatures, but I've dealt with Battletech since a kid in terms of their models, and they've always been Pewter since I can remember, and they don't seem to change, and I don't think they really make sense when they change it. So I've just dealt with that, and I've had better experiences with their Pewter than other companies' Pewters. But still, I would like to be plastic. But the case here of the base being Pewter is a bonus. It helps bring the center of gravity of your miniature down. For those of us that have the Pewter models from 40K, especially like the Pewter Chaplain with the jump pack, he's top heavy. There's a lot of models that are top heavy that like to tip over easily. You notice that they put a counterweight on the bottom of the base to prevent that. In this case, having the base itself being Pewter, it helps out a bit. So it is nice that it is Pewter instead of a plastic base. So with that being said, let's talk about working with Pewter, because I talked about Battletech. This is the 2 differences basically. You have what all the mechs will be, including a Hunchback if you buy it in a blister, is going to be a multi-part piece, multi-part Pewter piece in a blister. So working with pewter, more often than not, especially if it's in a blister, like in the case of all the Battletech miniatures, pewter won't really come with instructions how to assemble it. I've had 2 pewter kits that came with instructions. The rest, whether they came in blister or in a little box format because multiple models were included in it, did not come with instructions. So more often than not, in my personal experience, I think in pewter in general, you won't get instructions for assembly. So what does that mean? Well, that means you gotta know what it looks like. Now I know what the Warhawk looks like here, but if you don't, or if you're getting into Battletech and you kind of new getting into it, you like it because it's mecha, you discovered it recently, or even if it's your first time going into the miniature painting world, even though you may have an understanding of what an Atlas may look like, for example, or a Warhawk, or anything, when it comes to you in this blister as multiple parts instead of just an assembled model, it can be a little disorienting to look. Did I say that right? It can be a little disorienting to look at, just because you don't expect to see it in a bunch of pieces. So what I recommend doing for any pewter model that you don't really understand what you're looking at, go online, do an image search for that particular model in question. In this case, the Masakari or Warhawk, depending upon what you call it, miniature in an image search, and I'll find images most likely of them painted up and finished, but I may find one that's just assembled. And then I can look at that and go, okay, this piece, I know where this piece goes now, alright, or whatever. So once you do that, you're looking at the pieces. Really the first thing you should do before you really get to that assembly point is clean up the pieces. You're going to have some flashing and some bits of pewter you just got to take off the piece. You just kind of, I don't really have a good example here to show you on this guy. This guy's actually pretty clean. Well, here we go. It's not on the piece, but sometimes you'll have something like this on your model. You got to take those off. Maybe give the model a slight bath in warm soapy water to get the release agent off if it feels slick with the release agent. So you do that, you find out what it's supposed to look like, and then you dry fit. You should dry fit for anything, not just pewter. Dry fitting, it's basically the measure twice, cut once type of mentality. Measuring twice, less of a chance of you making a mess of yourself or messing up the model when it comes time to glue it. So you're not actually measuring and cutting necessarily. That's just a saying, for those of you that don't know that saying, measure twice, cut once. Dry fit. Dry fit everything. Dry fit each piece together that's going to be glued together to get a good feel for it. It'll help you encounter any problems, because 2 pieces, when especially with pewter, may go together or be meant to go together, but maybe there's some pewter build up where there shouldn't be, or you got to file something down or drill out the hole a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, whatever it is. If that's the case, it's better to find it before you put glue down than after. With that being said, with pewter models, especially pewter organic models, or models that kind of have a wide surface connecting each other, like an arm to a torso of a person or an alien, you may want to consider pinning. If you're going to be dealing with a lot of pewter, pinning will be your friend. Pinning strengthens the model. What it basically does is it puts a pin in one, it has a pin connecting the 2 together with the glue. It gives more surface area, more contact for the glue to be on and for the parts to be touching and glued on. Instead of it being glued on one face, now you got it glued on the faces that are supposed to be connected to each other, and then you got a pin that has glue on it, which is also gonna kind of cement the pieces together a bit. So pinning will be your friend in pewter. And lastly, if you make a mistake with pewter, with gluing or whatever, don't freak out. Pewter is the easiest thing to correct mistakes on, in my opinion. You just need some more warm soapy water or some silver green or whatever, let it soak a bit, and then gently pry the pieces apart, and the pieces will snap apart or unsnap, whatever the case may be. And then you could peel off the super glue and start again, basically on a perfectly clean palette. So you don't really have to worry that much. I'd rather make a mistake gluing pewter together than plastic or resin. Especially resin. With resin, I've noticed, once resin's glued together, it's together. Good luck getting that off. I had to do that once and I destroyed the bit that I glued onto it. Luckily I had a backup. But anyways, that's Battletech miniatures and pewter in a quick nutshell. So hopefully you guys enjoyed and I helped anybody out there maybe getting into Battletech and kind of unsure, this is what it looks like. Don't be intimidated. It's not as hard as it looks. Just go online, find images of the completed mech in question. If you happen to know people who play locally, they may have the mech already to show you, or they'll be willing to help you. So don't be afraid about that. It looks more intimidating than it is, and it really only looks more intimidating because there are no instructions. Most of the time, I've noticed when you compare pewter to plastic kits, pewter tends to be a bit easier to assemble than plastic, because plastic, they can really break it down to a lot of pieces. And then dealing with pewter, I don't like working with it personally that much. I mean, it's not because it's hard. I just don't like the weight, and I don't like the texture of pewter. I think I might have a slight allergy to pewter. What if I handle it too much? But pinning sounds like an advanced technique. Definitely your friend with pewter. And don't be afraid to make a mistake with pewter. Like I said, I personally rather make a mistake with pewter because I can definitely fix it a lot easier than with plastic or resin. So, leave any questions or comments in the comment section, or PM us here at Fearless Games. If you guys have a particular question for me, the wildcard, just put in my name, which is James, or wildcard in the PM in question. Otherwise, one of us will try to answer it, or maybe we'll consult each other and then give you the best answer we can. But don't be afraid to contact us. We love to hear from you guys. So, leave a comment, tell your friends about us, and until next time, take it easy.